What's going on, guys? Mark Tominick here, and today we're going to start dipping a little bit into my personal collection. We're going to start with my top 5 favorite raws that I have in my Pokemon card collection. I picked out 5 that I absolutely adore. I'd like to hear what you guys have to think about, do you like these ones? Do you have another 5 that you like? What is it that you prefer? In terms of your raw cards, and do you like graded? Do you like raw? I personally collect more raw. Like I have quite a few in my collection that we'll be able to go through at some point, but I mainly go for the raws. I have a few graded cards which are just fantastic, but I mainly have a lot of raw. But before we start, I do have something to show you guys, and I hope you like this as much as I like this. But boom, Attack on Titan fans. Aaron Yeager on the back of my Sherpa. How cool, right? How cool. I'm never going to take this thing off. I'm probably going to sleep in it, even though it's a little warm. I might bathe in it. I don't know. We'll find out. But let's get started. All right, so I stacked these up, have them all sleeved. Let's get started. So this one in particular, I can't believe we even consider these cards like vintage now. I guess you would consider these vintage. I'm going to consider it vintage, but it's in my top 5 because it comes from an era of cards that I really find interesting. I took a lot of time to collect all of these. There's the tag team cards and collections. And honestly, I took a ton of time to collect a lot of these tag team cards because there was something that I found really to be unique and special. And this has my favorite Pokemon in it. So here we go. Gengar, Mimikyu. This card is so sick. So sick. And the reason why I think I like Gengar the most is obviously when you saw it and when Ash had to beat Sabrina, he needed a ghost type. He went to get obviously Haunter, but Gengar was there too. And this just is so sick. Like the tag teams to me are really unique because you have so many different Pokemon in them and collaborations between different types or even same types, different Pokemon. And sometimes they're cool Pokemon, cute Pokemon. Like it really just varies. And I really, really like these. So this is the first one. All right, on to the next one here. Now, this card specifically has a lot of nostalgia factor. It is from an era of Pokemon when I started playing Pokemon. Shiny Gyarados. I mean, come on. Like the art on this is sick. The guy in the boat, the Shiny Gyarados coming out of the waters, looking fierce as hell. Like just really cool. Now, I started playing Pokemon Silver. That was the first ever Game Boy Color game I ever played and I ever got. And obviously when you went to Lake of Rage, you end up getting a Shiny Gyarados, the first gen when you get Shiny Pokemon. In fact, I was just playing Silver not too long. I'm still in the middle of the game. But I ended up finding a Shiny Pokemon when I was headbutting a ton of trees trying to find Heracross. If you know how to get Heracross, it's much easier. I was unaware and it took me forever, but I got it. Anyways. This card is actually really good condition. I mean, there's literally a little tiny whitening at the top. Outside of it, it's centered pretty good. The hollow is not scratched at all. There's no dings, no dents. I mean, this is in really good condition. I love this card. So that's number 2. I would say that my Gengar Mimikyu, it's almost flawless of a card too. All right, let's stick with the Shinings. If I say I'm sticking with the Shinings, you guys probably know what's coming. I mean, come on. Shining Charizard. Not only is the art cool, but obviously the whole Shining collection is just awesome. It's one thing. It's a set that I would really love to have all the hollows in this one. And so I'm working on that right now. But this one's lightly played. It does have a little bit of whitening on the back. The hollow's pretty good in it. But at the end of the day, it's just a fantastic card. One of my favorite cards in my collection, at least for vintage. We'll show you the moderns one day, but these are just all the vintage. My top 5 favorite vintage, and this one, fantastic. Love it. All right, next one. Now, we're going to kind of circle back to a card before. Again, Gyarados coming back up. It is the shiny one, and it's a gold star. It took me a lot of time to find this card, actually. This card was not easy for me to get in a raw, decent, and I would say this is near mint condition. There's a tiny bit of whitening, but outside of that, really, really good condition card. And usually you'll find these graded. I didn't want to grade it. I wanted it raw, so I had to wait for this one, and it took me a little bit of time. But this card is one of my favorites, and it's probably my second favorite out of everything. Like this card, out of all my raws at least, this card is just stellar, dude. And it's a gold star. The Delta species is something that I've always appreciated. I always like seen the Pokemon, and then seeing a different typing, like the Delta species. I always thought it was a really cool idea in the cards. I wish they would bring these back at some point. It's gonna be really cool. All right, next one. Now, most of you that are watching will understand when I bring this card up. If you have this card, you understand exactly why this is so hype. You understand why this is so important. And here we go. Charizard. The firework holographic. Like, dude, come on. This is sick. Like, I have a few of these firework holographic cards. And this one, I mean, just takes the cake. It's easily the best. Obviously, everyone loves Charizard. If you don't love Charizard, why are you here? You know? But at the end of the day, I love this card. And near mint condition, there's a tiny whitening at the top of the corner. The centering's pretty good on it for the most part. It's a little off. The holo has a little bit of fine scratches in it, but for the most part, it's a beautiful card. Like, look at that holo. How could you not be obsessed with that? How could it not be in your top 5? I did bring one more, though. Now, it's not my top 5, but it is my favorite Pokemon, and I do love this set, by the way. First edition, Sabrina's Gengar, and it's near perfect. It is near perfect condition. So this card to me is just one of my favorites. I had to bring it up because, I mean, I try to go with 5. How can you when there's so many good ones? And this one, just because of the condition, the Pokemon, I mean, it's beautiful. I have a ton of really good raw cards that I want to show you guys. I have like the trios, the birds, legendary dogs, like all in near mint condition, beautiful stuff. First editions, cracked ice, like, you know, it's going to be really cool to go through some of these. So I look forward to it. But if you can, give me a like, give me a comment. Tell me which ones are your favorites out of these. Tell me which are your top 5 favorite raws that you have that are vintage. Subscribe if you can. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I look forward to making the next one.